everyone, welcome to another episode of Gripe, the show for short, sweet reviews of new release movies, plus the one thing that annoyed me the most. Today I'm going to be talking about the movie Bad Moms, starring Mila Kunis, Kathryn Hahn, and Kristen Bell, as well as Christina Applegate, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Annie Mumolo to kind of round out the top cast of the film. It also has David Walton, Clark Duke, Jay Hernandez, Wendell Pierce, and of course, you can't have a great comedy without Wanda Sykes. But here's kind of the basic story of the movie. So Mila Kunis plays a mother of two. She works part-time for, a hipster coffee company or whatever. And, she basically spends the rest of her time, doing everything for her kids, whether it's driving them to soccer practice or helping them with their school projects or making breakfast, lunch, dinner, just doing everything to, keep her family, healthy and happy and all that. And, doing all the stuff for her husband, who's, apparently a successful mortgage broker or something. They don't really give his character a whole lot of depth, really. But basically, she's, like that prototypical working mom, domestic goddess type of figure. And, she interacts with some other people, like Christina Applegate, who's, president of the PTA, and she's got her cronies, Jada Pinkett Smith and Annie Mumolo play, like, her cronies. And they're, they're very much, they like the control of, being in charge of the PTA. And so they, people like Mila Kunis and Kathryn Hahn and Kristen Bell, they, to them, they're all kind of like lesser moms. No matter how, hard they work, they're never as good. So there's already, right off the bat, this kind of struggle between these two different groups. And then Mila Kunis finds her husband basically cheating on her, even though he's just, it's digitally, he's still basically interested in this other woman. And so she kicks him out and tries to do everything by herself. And after a really bad day that culminates in her going to a PTA meeting that essentially is a, emergency meeting regarding the bake sale, she decides that she's had it and she just kind of snaps. And when she does, she basically runs into Kathryn Hahn's character, who is not necessarily the domestic goddess. She's more like the deadbeat mom, who, is far more interested in getting drunk and chasing men than she is with taking care of her son. As well as Kristen Bell's character, who, basically takes Mila Kunis's her outburst as this sort of like awakening moment. Because Kristen Bell plays the stay-at-home mom, the one who spends all of her time with just her kids, and even her husband is, pretty much like her job is just to take care of the kids. And so the three of them, they get drunk and they go destroy a grocery store, but they come to this conclusion that maybe it's time, instead of being these great moms who don't get anything for being great and for doing everything, that they should be bad moms, and hence the premise of the story. So basically, Mila Kunis just like starts, forcing her kids to make their own breakfast and, do their own homework and stuff like that. And, but no matter what she does, her, everything that she's trying to do is kind of undermined by Christina Applegate's character, who's trying to continue to keep her stranglehold over everything. And so she's kind of baiting Mila Kunis's character into, making her out to be a bad mom, as a real actual bad mom. And all the while, she's struggling with, her job and being like the oldest person at her job, her, potential divorce to, her husband, and just, all the other stuff that's going on in her life. And so she ultimately decides to run against Christina Applegate for PTA president, and, this sets off, kind of a little war between them, where, of course, Christina Applegate has the upper hand because she's better at being manipulative and vindictive in a situation like this. And so Mila Kunis ultimately, she tries to reconcile with her husband, but it doesn't work. And at the same time, she's also kind of falling for this widower, who's played by Jay Hernandez, kind of exploring the world where, this world of not being, what she's always been, because she was a mom at 20. It's basically the only life she's ever known. So, but ultimately, Christina Applegate plants some evidence on her daughter, kind of forces her to question what she's doing, if she is actually a bad mom, if she, all this other stuff. But then, Catherine Hahn and Kristen Bell come together and tell her, she can do it, she needs to do it. There's this big assembly, this big election, and ultimately she wins, and she saves the day. And she does so by coming to the conclusion that sometimes it's okay to be bad moms. It's okay sometimes to fail. It's sometimes okay not to be perfect and to do everything perfectly, because even if they do things perfectly, it still might not be enough, or it might not be appreciated. So just, do whatever they can, and if they succeed, great. If not, too bad. But the important thing at the end of the day is just loving their kids and hoping that they grow up to be good people and not obsessed with, like, power, or just, everything being perfect. They don't want their kids to grow up to be like them. And so there's this big happy moment. She wins PTA, and she reconciles with Christina Applegate, and then the movie ends. So I know it sounded kind of a little confusing, but that's because, the plot it's a little weird, like what it is, because for the most part, it's one of those movies. It is very much the modern comedy, where their goal is not so much to create this, like, situation, or if they do, they create it later in the movie, but to basically have a concept, and then everybody kind of buys into that concept. It's like, okay, let's be bad moms, so let's, go destroy a grocery store, and let's, get drunk during the day. Let's, sneak into a really fancy spa to get, mani-pedis and stuff like that. It's kind of it's just that silly premise, but it's very much like the modern comedy, where it's more about, like, the gags than it is about this story or whatever plot that they're trying to develop. So this movie doesn't have a very strong plot. It's more about the characters, and in this, specifically Mila Kunis's character, because you can tell, she very much wants to be the perfect mom. She wants everything to be perfect for her children. She doesn't want them to fail. It's that, even in the movie, she talks about entitlement. It's kind of the entitlement to the kids, and I don't mean that in the sense of, like, kids having, that sense of entitlement, but, like, making sure that that her kids have everything to succeed and to be the best at, whatever they do. But in doing so, she's also, like, basically whittling the whittling years off of her own life in doing so. Which is why coming to the conclusion that being a bad mom is okay is, so powerful and profound for her, because it's like, they don't have to be perfect all the time. They can make mistakes. It kind of goes against the old, the traditional image of, like, the domestic goddess, which, without getting too political, it is kind of this sexist image of, the wife, her role is just to stay home with the kids, take care of the house, and, do that whole thing, which obviously is not, it's not reality, especially in modern age. The reality in the modern age is that even two-parent families, both parents have to work. Things are not cheap anymore. Both parents have to work, and so, it's that struggle. It's finding that balance, being able to be there for your kids, but also being able to support them and all that. So it certainly has a lot of poignant moments, and I have to give it credit because, I'm not a mother myself, but I have a mother, and, at my age, looking back and seeing everything that my mom's done for me over the years, it's pretty easy to tell that she had moments like this where she was questioning, is she a good mom? Is she a bad mom? Did she try so hard that she would cry just knowing that, she tried as hard as she could, but even that wasn't enough to, get the respect she deserved for everything she did. You definitely can see that it's one of those, like, introspective movies where you're like, I should call my mom and thank her for being a great mom over the years. But also to assure her that even when it wasn't perfect and when she wasn't able to, be there and, do the right, do what, she thought would have been the right thing, that it was okay, because it still turned out fine. At least I think so. You might disagree, but but it's a poignant message in a movie that's fairly slapstick and silly, which I have to give I really do have to give them credit for, because as much as this movie wants to be very slapstick, there's a lot of, sexual jokes, innuendo. There's a party scene. There are times where I was like, okay, what is this movie trying to be? But it does have those moments where they do start to look inside, and they look deeper at the idea of, motherhood in the modern world, and, like, what it takes to be, that to take on that role and that almost like superhero role that they have. The movie actually ends with the credit scene. The main actresses in the movie, their moms, came on set and actually kind of talked about, them being moms as well as now their daughters being moms and all that. And it was kind of an interesting like look at how mothers also look back on how things went, because there's a line in the movie where they say, you can only do so much for your kids, and by the time you figure out what you should have done, it's too late. I mean, it's already past, which is a true thing, because it's like parents want to do what's best for their kids, moms and dads, they want to do what's best for their kids, but if they go wrong and they realize that, it's usually too late by the time they do realize that. So I got a lot of poignant feeling out of this movie. There's also some extremely funny jokes, and anytime you can just say, Catherine Hahn, go do what you do best, you're going to get something funny. At least, I mean, I enjoy her humor. I think she's extremely funny. And in this movie, she plays, the very trashy, very trampy type of, deadbeat mom who she just radiates this personality. Especially her interactions with Kristen Bell, because she's the antithesis to Kristen Bell, who's the stay-at-home mom, who's like very devoted to her husband, very like submissive, and Catherine Hahn is just like this single mom, just like, I do whatever I want, I hate my son's sport kind of thing. I mean, he just radiates that energy, and the way that these three actresses play off each other is really well done. I did feel a lot of good chemistry in there. Which is always nice, because in a comedy like this, if you don't have the chemistry, it's not going to work. That being said, I have a number of criticisms of this movie as well. I mean, there's a lot of jokes that they kind of left on the table. I see. It seems like you could say that about any comedy anymore. They always leave jokes on the table, but that's also because, are you expecting it to be a laugh a minute? Maybe. I mean, there were moments where I felt like they tried to land a joke and it didn't work. Not badly. I mean, this was not like The Boss bad when it came to like just completely shooting, completely missing the boat when it came to trying to make a joke. But there were a few moments where I thought that, they tried to make a joke and it didn't quite pan out so well. Also, just, I mean, the whole movie itself was just incredibly formulaic. To the point where, it's like, once they did develop the plot, once they said, okay, this is actually what's going on, is, she's going to run for PTA, she's going to challenge Christina Applegate, and, there's going to be a standoff, and ultimately she's going to win, but there's going to be some kind of controversy in there. It's like, everything you hear, it's like, take like it's like Billy Madison. It's basically the same exact outcome as Billy Madison, as you have, the two going at it, then you have like the plot twist. It's like, oh, you shouldn't do this. In this case, it's like they, Christine Applegate plants some, false evidence on Mila Kunis's daughter. So it's like, oh, now I can't do it. Now I shouldn't do this. But then, her friends say, you have to do it. You have to do it, Billy. I mean, Mila. That was intentional. But and then, there's the big finale, where someone gives an impassioned speech. And it's like, we can be bad moms, and people stand up and say, I'm a bad mom, I'm a bad mom, I'm Spartacus. I mean, it's that kind of just like, it's that paradigm that has been done so many times. And I'm not saying that it's bad, but it's just like, it gets tiring when you can just predict exactly how the plot's going to go. Comedy is notorious for that, because, comedy is hard to come up with original stuff that stays funny and also stays fresh. And, you're not going to get too many movies that really stray from the formula too much, unless it's like a Wes Anderson movie. But even those movies have formulas. It's like there are just certain comedy paradigms that you get. And, which is what makes a movie like Deadpool so good, because, and not to say that I'm trying to compare Bad Moms to Deadpool, but the reason Deadpool works is because they subvert one genre by by making comedy almost the overarching genre of that movie. It is a action comic book movie, but they try to make the comedy almost more important, which is why it works so well. It kind of crossed the genre, which is what you have to do with comedy anymore. And so many of them are trying it. Like the Pineapple Express type of, comedy where it's like, it starts out really like simple. It's just, a couple of stoners doing stupid stuff. And then ultimately get to the end where there's gunfights and all that, where they try to just subvert that. It's the guys like Edgar Wright who have done it pretty well of subverting, taking genres, mixing them together and subverting them, pretty expertly. So, but this one, extremely formulaic, extremely basic to the point where you can almost predict like what's going to happen next. And they gave it away in the trailer, but I'm still giving my key gripe to the moment that it's a something that they're doing in movies more and more frequently that is just getting annoying. This is the second time it's happened in a comedy this year, and not just that, but it's the second time it's happened in a comedy with Kristen Bell. Is the scene where Mila Kunis is like, she's gonna basically go out, she wants to have sex. She hasn't had sex in a while, so she wants to go out, meet just some random guy, and have sex. That's her goal. So she, starts to like look through her wardrobe, and it's like, how about this? Is this gonna work? How about this? No, is this gonna work? And it's like, oh no, how about that really slutty Halloween costume thing you've got there? It's like, okay. It's like, whoa, is that your bra? I mean, she's just like wearing a normal bra. It's like, whoa, no, you can't do that. That's, that's like a, terrible bra, but it's the like the Cinderella transformation moment that you get in these movies where it's like, no, you can't do this. You have to be like super hot, super cool. You have to do this, followed by, like house music and a slow strut to the car kind of scene. Those are getting so overused and annoying, and then especially in this movie, it's just like, as funny as the jokes were in that moment, it's like, come on, you gotta do better than this. It's like, it makes the assumption that people are too stupid to, like, follow any kind of trends. Like, throughout the movie, she is, fashionable. She's, she's not like, she's certainly not, like, wearing club outfits all the time, but it's not like she doesn't know what is in style. And in this moment, it's like, I've never been in sexy clothing, so its whole thing is new to me. It's very contrived, it's very silly and stupid, and it's getting annoying when I see that, especially when I see this almost the exact same scene in two movies, and it's even more annoying when it's the same actress in two movies. Granted, this wasn't, Melissa McCarthy playing, Marionette with Kristen Bell's bra, but it was pretty close. It was very close, and that's definitely my key gripe in this movie. But the movie is pretty flawed, but at the same time, it does have a poignant message that was unexpected. I'd give this movie a 6.5 out of 10, which is somewhat higher than I kind of would have probably given it. But when I think about where they, where they're coming from and the message that they really are trying to convey, it's something you don't see extremely often in these in movies today. So they did take a chance, and I think it did pay off. It's a funny movie. It's got a lot of moments of laughter. J.J. Watt makes an appearance as a soccer coach, and I mean, that's entertaining, right? So so I'd give that movie a 6.5 out of 10. Let me know what you think, if you agree, disagree, if you thought it was a good movie, if you absolutely hated it. Let me know in the comments below. And that's it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time on Key Gripe. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to keep up on all of my YouTube videos by clicking subscribe, and if you're already a subscriber, thank you, and you rock. Also visit my homepage at dkessner.com where you can find out about all my various other projects, including my written works. How about that? You can also find me at my social media handles, so drop in and say hi. And again, thank you so much for all your support. Love you.